In 1973, the average sperm count was 100 million. In 2018, it was 50 million. This is a 50% decrease in 45 years. Now, if you do the math, then you realize that if you add another 45 years, it's going to drop another 50%, right? And from 1973 to 2018, when I did the math, it was an average of 1.11% drop per year. Now, if this continued at the same rate on a linear line, it would hit 0 in 2063. That's not even counting that everything in this modern day is only getting worse. All of the pollutants that are causing these things originally are only getting worse. So, who knows what it's going to be or when it's going to be. And this also doesn't count that, to look at the brighter side of things, trends usually don't continue for that long. Obviously, things can change since the spread of internet allows more and more information. But the point is, it's a problem. Now, I didn't even mention the fact that since the 1960s, men's testosterone has been declining. In the 1960s, the average testosterone of a full-grown male was 700. Today, in the present, it's 400. I could even continue that the average grip strength of a man right now is 100. Back in the 1960s/70s, it was probably 115. You can see the trend that's going on here. Men are becoming less fertile and they're becoming weaker. Now, to back up this claim even more, let's look at some other diseases and just the general landscape of America's health. Now, let's compare a few statistics from the 1920s to now, specifically in the United States. Type 2 diabetes in the 1920s went from 1 to 2% to 12%. Obesity went from 10 to 15% to 40%. Asthma in 1920, 1 to 3%. And now in 2026, it's 8 to 10%. Then cardiovascular disease, 1 in 5 deaths in the United States are from cardiovascular issues, from their arteries getting clogged, from having a heart attack. All of those common things. And if you put that in a percentage, that's 20%. 20% of the deaths in the United States are preventable from good health and good lifestyle. In my opinion, I don't think any of this is by accident. I don't think America's sickness, I don't think men's testosterone, I don't think any of this is an accident that we're having all of these problems. Now, think about it. Would medical and pharmaceutical companies make more money if you were healthy or sick? I think you can answer that question on your own. You don't need me to help you. But if you don't believe me, I'll give you a few examples. Like I said, men have lower testosterone nowadays, so instead of naturally fixing it, they just go to the doctor, right? They try and see how good their testosterone is. Maybe that's why their focus is low. Maybe that's why their libido and energy is low. They come back, it's 200 to 300. And without even trying to fix their diet or lifestyle, the doctor just gives them, you know what? Maybe you should just go on TRT. I think that would be the better solution. And the man doesn't realize that he becomes a slave to that company. He becomes a lifelong customer of reoccurring revenue. Just like the smoking companies that they did back in the day. They would market to young kids. The vaping companies, they would market to young kids. And I know it's two separate situations, but the smoking and vaping companies would market to young kids, so then they have lifelong customers until death, and then they just go on to the next customers. It's all about revenue. Or Ozempic. Imagine having half your population in the United States, which is what it's coming down to, being a fat ass. And instead of fixing it like they should, or instead of the doctors telling them they should fix it through diet and lifestyle, finding the root cause of why I'm actually getting fat, fixing the habits. No, let's just put you on Ozempic. Let's stick a needle in you, and so that you always have to take that so then we're just getting more money and you're left sick. Even skin conditions. I can speak for this one from my personal experience. I used to have terrible eczema. It runs through my family. And I thought it was just genetics. But I realized it was my diet and lifestyle. I remember going on vacation. I'd go to the beach. I would get super just bad eczema from the salt water in the ocean. The sun would make it even worse. So then I'd always flare up and I'd end up having to go to the dermatologist and get this cream called hydrocortisone, which is supposed to help control this eczema. And yeah, it helped do it and it helped work, but it never fixed the actual thing. But once I fixed my diet and lifestyle by removing toxins, fixing my diet, everything changed for my eczema. To this day, it's basically gone and I never have any problems with it. Even if I'm going to the lake and my skin is absorbing all of those like just things from the lake or the ocean, the salt water is drying my skin, doesn't happen. I'm fine. Now, why am I telling you all of this stuff? I'm telling you all of this stuff because Christian men need to make sure that their health is in order, that their testosterone is high, because the world is out to get men and make them sick. And you can say this about everyone. They want you sick so that they profit off of you. They want you sick so they profit off of you, which is why it is imperative that men fix their health, that Christian men always are disciplined and have self-control of what they're putting into their bodies. Now, in the Bible, we're called to reproduce and have kids on earth. Well, how are men going to do that when fertility and sperm count and testosterone are all dropping at record lows every single year? How are we supposed to have families? It's going to get to the point where if you're a Christian man and you're called to have a family, you're going to have to be seriously disciplined and intentional about what you put in your body. This leads me to my next point. Corinthians 6:19 through 20. Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you receive from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies. This means our bodies need to be treated with honor and respect. Now, the full context of this Bible verse was about lust and just sexual immorality. But I want to take that a step further. And I want to say it's also about having self-control in your diet, being healthy, being strong, optimizing your hormones, optimizing your testosterone, so that you can honor the Holy Spirit that way. That also includes not being a fat ass. Now, my third point. In the Bible, God commands the first people to be numerous and multiply, which obviously is Genesis. While I can't know who's going to be having families and who's called to have families by God, but it is imperative that you know that children take the habits of their parents. This is important. Children take the habits of their parents. So let's say you want to be the father in the future, but you were never paying attention to your health, and you're having kids, but you're an absolute fat ass. Those habits are going to transfer to your kids. So instead of your kids being healthy, they're going to have these habits because, children look up to their parents. They see them as perfect, especially in their younger ages, and they're always watching you and learning and consuming all of this information so that they can learn and to develop. Well, they're going to be learning the wrong habits from you. If you're an absolute tank and a fat ass weighing 300, 400 pounds, those habits are going to carry on to them, and then they're going to have health problems in their future, which is going to lead to them having to learn how to break that, probably costing them money, costing them resources and time, when you could have from the get-go helped them and been a better example as a Christian man, as the head of the household, as a father, and showing them the right habits, showing them the right ways to be healthy so that they don't have to deal with that down the road. Now, how do you actually take care of your health? If you've seen my other videos, you probably know that I've been in a health journey of myself, and I've been dealing with this head injury, and it's been getting better, but I've had to seriously dial in my health to such a tight degree so that I continue to get better and so I can make a full recovery and get back to doing what I love. And thank the Lord that I'm going to get there and that I'm going to get to where I need to be. Now, what do you actually need to do? Eat a clean animal-based diet. Remove all processed foods, all junk food. Quit the drugs and the alcohol. Stop eating seed oils. Optimize your sleep and get as much vitamin D as possible. Eat a good amount of cholesterol because cholesterol is the precursor to testosterone. Avoid as much endocrine disruptors as possible. And if you don't know what that is, I would look it up because Google is going to do a way better job of explaining that to you than me. And then also, avoid as much microplastics as you possibly can, along with forever chemicals, PFAS, all of that stuff. Because those things accumulate in your body, especially the microplastics. I'm sure you've heard you absorb a credit card a week of microplastics. Think about how much that's adding up. There was a study, and every single man had microplastics all over his body, his organs, his balls. Think about how much that's affecting you and you don't even realize. I promise if you optimize for all of those things and you also get your steps in, you do your cardio, you strength train, there is zero chance that you don't get in shape and you don't feel like the best version of yourself. Christian men need to stand out by being healthy, having high testosterone, so that they can be the example that Christ wants them to be to lead other men to Christianity.